Hello, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are again together with another webinar from ADFIMI. I'm deeply grateful for this webinar. Dear distinguished speakers, guests, and participants, and I warmly welcome all participants for this seminar. And also, I would like to thank all participants, guests, and speakers for this seminar. Today, we will speak about FinTech financial technology. Our subject in this webinar is FinTech and FinTech solutions. As you know very well, FinTechs and the other technologies are very important, becoming very, very important. And also, all of us know very well the world is changing very rapidly, very fastly nowadays. And to take the world from the financial perspective is also very important, especially for the financial perspective. Today, we have three very important speakers, and they are very clever and very expertise in their own expertise. And we will talk about the big data, digitalization, fintechs, metaverse, and the others. And I believe that the speakers will give us very important information, very important knowledge and developments about that issue. And also today, before starting the speakers, I would like to introduce our speakers to you. First, the first speaker is Mr. Mohammed Cerit, from Assistant General Manager in Evea Bank, and Dr. Ahmet Kaplan, Assistant Professor, Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, and Mr. Melih Turan. If you let me, I would like to start with Mr. Mohammed Cerit from Evea Bank. And please let me ask to introduce Mr. Mohammed Cerit for you very shortly. And sorry, Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed Cerit, he graduated from the Hacettepe University Computer Science and Engineering Department in 2000, and the same year began his career as a software developer. In 2001, he began to work as an assistant expert the Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency. In 2006, he received master's degree from Hacettepe University Business Administration Department. He had worked with several positions in Banking Regulation Supervision Agency as a software developer, database manager, information system auditor, head of department, and vice chairman. He was responsible for information system compliance, data and system management departments, when vice chairman of the Banking Regulation Supervision Agency. Information System Compliance Department is responsible for regulation, audit, and enforcement of the banking and other financial institutions' information systems. Data and System Management Department is responsible for internal information system and financial institution reporting system. Since May 2022, he has working as an Assistant General Manager at Invoy Investment Bank. Mr. Mohammed Cerit will speak about the digitalization, innovation, and trends. As we know very well, that digitalization is very important nowadays, and also big data and reaching to the big data is also very important. After reaching the big data, the next process, I think, the digitalization of this process. And also today, Mr. Mohammed Cerit will very detailed and specific information and data and knowledge about that issue. Yes, Mr. Mohammed Cerit, the ground is yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Öztürk. Also, thank you to organizer and contributors of the program. Dear participants, my name is Mohammed Mustafa Cerit. I am Assistant General Manager of Evea Bank, whose auditing process continues for the operating permit. Today, I will talk about digitalization, innovation, and the new trends in the financial area briefly. First Firstly, I will mention the concept related to digital. Then the transformation of banking over the time will be summarized. After that, financial innovation and interaction between regulation and innovation will be discussed. Finally, a brief information about the trends will be given and summarizing. Although first two words sound similar, but there is a remarkable differences in digitization and digitalization. Digitization is the process of changing from analog to digital form, also known as a digital enabler. Said another word, digitization takes an analog process and changes it to the digital form without any different in-kind change to the process itself. Digitization is actually started in the 70s when computers were first being adopted by organizations throughout the world. Best way to think about it is the digitization is taking manual paper-based pieces of information and moving it to the computers. Digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value-producing opportunities. It is the process of moving to the digital business. So digitalization is taking furthermore than digitization. We are not only putting information into the computers, we are changing the way we do business or workflows by using technology. Digital transformation can refer to anything from IT modernization to digital optimization, to the invention of new digital business model. It has very broad concept. Digital transformation is really the comprehensive view of an organization, not just leveraging technology, but more importantly, leveraging improved business processes and improved people and organizational structures to totally transform a business. Defining how your digital transformation aligns with your overall strategy is most important. So transformation includes technology, process, and people. And also, when we look into the Google search trends from 2010 to today, reveals that digitization and digitalization are nearly similar in internet search. This convergence mirrors key milestone in digital era, as increased digitization opened the way for digitalization. When we look at the graph, it is seen that there has been a rise in every three concepts after 2016, and the increase in digital transformation draws attention. When we talk about banking transformation, always come to us Bank 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0 transformation. If we try to represent this graphically, we should show the economics of banking, primarily distribution and delivery mechanism in one axis versus friction in customer experience on other axis. Banking 1.0, historical traditional banking centered around the branch as the primary access point, started with the Medici family in the 20th century. Banking 2.0, the emergence of self-banking services defined by the first attempt to provide access outside of the bank working hours, commenced with ATM machines and accelerated in 1995 with the commercial internet. Banking 3.0, banking when and where you need it is redefined by emergence of the smartphone in 2007 and accelerated with the shift of mobile payments, P2P, and challenger banks built on top of mobile channel agnostic. Banking 4.0, embedded banking delivered in real time through technology layer, dominated by real-time contextual experience, frictionless engagement, and smart AI-based advice layer, largely digital omnichannel with zero requirement for physical distribution. For decades, banks have same relatively static, highly profitable business models. But today they find themselves confronted on all sides by innovators seeking to disrupt their business models. Crowdfunding, peer-to-peer lending, mobile payment, in insurance, Bitcoin, robo-advisory, there seem to be no end to diversity or to sky-high valuation of these fintech innovators. Research shows that round of innovation just might make the big names in financial services rethink their business models in some very fundamental ways. Here are 5 characteristics of today's innovators to suggest this time might really be different when it comes to disruptive innovation in financial services. Innovators or technology transform the business by they are developing highly focused products and services. For example, past innovators often try to replicate the whole bank, resulting in business models that either applied only to the most tech-savvy or price-conscious customers. Today's innovators are aggressively targeting the intersection between areas high frustration for customers, high profitability for incumbent. For example, these innovations are money transfer, payments, and remittance. And also, they are automating and commoditizing high margin process. Innovators are also using their technical skills to automate manual process that are currently very resource intensive for established players. This allows them to offer services to a whole new group of customers that were once reserved for the elite, for example, robo-advisors. And also, they are using data statistically. Customer data has always been central decision-making factor for financial institutions. Bankers make lending decisions based on your credit score issuing a credit. But as people and their devices become more interconnected, new streams of granular real-time data are emerging. And with them, innovators who use their data to support financial decision-making. For example, conduct in-depth analysis of people's social networking pattern to provide an additional layer of lender trying to analyze credit decision-making. And also, they are platform-based and capital light. Companies like Uber, Airbnb have shown that marketplace companies, which connect buyers and sellers, are able to grow revenues exponentially while keeping costs more or less flat. Crowdfunding platforms have achieved something similar, becoming an important source of funding for many seed-stage businesses. These platforms connect individuals looking to make small investment in startups with any area of potential investment targets. Also, they are collaborating with incumbents. This one might seem strange. After all, disruptors are supposed to debut to old economy, not work with it. But this is an oversimplified way. Smart investors have realized that they can employ strategies to compete with incumbents in the areas of their choosing while piggybacking on the scale. For their parts, incumbents are realized that collaborating with new entrants can help them get a new perspective on their industry, better understand their strategic advantage, and even externalize aspects of their research and development. As a result, we are seeing a broad number of collaborations between innovators and incumbents. Clearly, there is more to this story than simply disruption. How it will play out is still to be seen. Although we can safely say that innovators will focus incumbents to change, which should ultimately benefit the customer. But it doesn't necessarily mean that brand names we know will be disappearing anytime soon, particularly those who learn to play with the new kids on the block. Also, there are dark and bright side of the financial innovation. Financial innovation is associated with more aggressive risk taking by banks and higher bank growth, which help provide valuable credit and risk diversification services to firms and households, which in turn enhance capital allocation efficiency and economic growth. Innovation also can help reduce costs and has impact on competition, efficiency, and stability. On the downside, the dark side of the greater risk-taking is that it significantly increases the bank's profit volatility, their fragility, and their losses during the banking crisis. However, financial innovation allows countries to grow faster by helping them giving growth opportunities. As fintech or innovator push to innovate, regulators must advance too. So innovation and regulation make each other and contact each other to support this innovation. Supporting innovation while ensuring customer protection is not straightforward. According to the research by BCG Group, to help regulators give some smart actions are shown in the slide. In the left side, action 1, set up fintech office and focus on recruiting the right leadership to drive initiative from the start. Position the office to emphasize its importance and influence both internally and externally. These actions solve the tech-savvy people problem. Action 2, mobilize a national pragmatic fintech task force with represented by key fintech players. Confirm that governance roles and accountabilities are conscious, unambitious, and complete. Action 3, define a fintech strategy and share a vision among all stakeholders. It begins with defining national priorities. The strategy will dictate areas for new regulations, sandbox, processes, and incentives for bringing fintechs to markets. Reach out to partners such as banks, innovators, and startups to get their feedback to ensure the strategy is well-rounded with concrete initiatives. Action 4, revise your regulatory framework as needed. As innovation escalates, top regulators will treat their regulatory framework as ever-changing organism. Consider a regulatory sandbox to test fintech, innovations, and extract findings. The framework will evolve as consumer and market demands shift and new technology emerge. Action 5, develop the right financial supervision strategy, designed for scale to avoid being overwhelmed in the longer term. We recommend starting small and planning for supervisor technology, subtech, that keeps up when growing kicks in. Prepare to invest in automated financial supervision across data collections and data analytics. Subtech applications include digitizing regulatory requirements, automating financial institution data submission for system-wide and data processing. Regulators foster innovation in financial services, open doors for digital advancement and economic growth. While regulators are flag barriers and orchestrators, they must also recognize that they are not alone in advancing a national fintech agenda. The importance of sound regulatory framework is clear, as are collaboration and coordination among regulators, banks, fintechs, and others in the sectors. Finally, when we look at the trends, we see that artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and Web3, blockchain, DeFi, metaverse are the rising trends recently. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robots were concepts that were talked about during my university years 25 years ago. Nowadays, with the development of technology, increasing data and digitalization, it is possible to see application in this area. The fact that majority of initiatives I listened during my visit to Silicon Valley last week were in these areas, strengthening my opinion that this area is now ready to enter our lives. When we see the AI use cases, so many areas now applied in the financial sector. And also, while we are talking about the static web pages, 1990s, interactive web pages comes into our lives in 2000s. Nowadays, it's possible to see that customer-centered distribution structure have entered our lives. Although it may seem like it will take some time for the products in this area to become widespread, it should not be overlooked that there is an area that needs to be repaired. So at the end, we must ready for change. Banking business will be transformed for next decade, and we don't fight with technology. We must use advantage of it and only use it when necessary. And another last connection is collaboration. Big fishes can operate with little fishes instead of eating them. Thank you so much for your understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Mustafa Cerit. It's very important presentation. It will be very important for us. But before going to the second speaker, I want to ask one question. Also taking into consideration your banking regulation and supervision background, and you are the responsible for that department in the banking regulation agency in Turkey, and also you know that digitalization is also includes some risks from the regulation agency. It is systemic risks also very important. And what's the perspective? What does the banking regulation agency look at the digitalization from the systemic risk perspective? What do you think about that issue?
In the banking regulation side, my 4 months ago, we are looking for the risky areas. If we totally manage the risky areas, so if we manage the risks, we open the innovation of the digital transformation. For example, maybe you remember last year, it was legislation about digital banking and service banking models regulations. When we design with our teams of the corporate agency, we look firstly for the risk. How can we manage the risk? If we aware the management of the risk is possible, and we put into the regulations, so we put in a place that regulations. If there is no solutions to this kind of risks in digital area, we will wait to push this kind of regulations. And every time we analyze changing of the world and digital technologies, when we at the end maturity level is high, then our government agency will put on the regulation on the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Cerit. It was very important for us from your career and for your expertise. And this question is a little bit related with that, some news, breaking news in last 2 days. In the, I think, if I'm not wrong, in Lebanon, there's some banking failure. Some of the paying their money depositors, and there's some of the long queue in the before the bank branches. And I hope that there will not any systemic risk or any banking risk in any country in this global recession threat. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Cerit, for your presentation. And now I want to continue our webinar with our second speaker, and Mr. Dr. Ahmet Kaplan. And let me to introduce Mr. Ahmet Kaplan for you. Ahmet Kaplan received his bachelor degree of electronic engineering in Bilkent University, along with his Master of Science and PhD in Erciyes University. He worked as an instructor at the Erciyes University Engineering Faculty and at Civil Aviation School. He studied as postdoctorate at the Georgia Institute of Technology in America, and he worked with international companies as software development project manager from 2000 and 2005. He worked at Turksat as IT director and vice president from 2005 to 2011. With his team, he managed the rewriting of the whole system, the government portal that had a huge impact on Turkey's transition to the information society. He fulfilled a duty as the institute director at the Turkish Academic Network and Information Center, TÜBİTAK, and technical coordinator of the FATIH project, Minister of Education from 2011-2014. In 2014, he became Executive Vice President at Turksat once again. From 2017 to 2022, he has been working at Ibn Haldun University as Assistant Professor at Business School. Currently, he is Assistant Professor of Electronic Engineering Department at the Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. Yeah, it's a very influential career, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, both and in academic, private, and public institutions. Congratulations for your good, very important career. And also, we will talk about the metaverse, different perspective with Mr. Ahmet Kaplan. As we already know very well that metaverse is became very popular nowadays after digitalization and blockchain and the cryptocurrency issues. And Mr. Ahmet Kaplan will give us lots of detailed information about that issue. Yes, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, the floor is on yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. İlham Bey. I want to share my screen firstly, then, okay. I hope it's seeing on the whole screen, right? Okay. Let us start with what is the metaverse and what is the different perspectives of the metaverse. I want to describe three types of the perspectives. Firstly, I want to give some details about the technical perspectives. Then I will touch some social, technical, or social psychological perspectives of the metaverse, and after that I will give some financial examples for application of the metaverse. As you mentioned, the metaverse has great potential to extend the physical world using some augmented and virtual reality tools, technologies to allow users to seamlessly interact within the real and the simulated environments using the avatars and other holograms. So, and as you know, the organization are starting to access those potentials of the metaverse. For example, the Italy's top soccer division will be screening Milan and Fiorentina within the Nemesis metaverse, allowing fans to interact with the users with a virtual room. So let's first start with what is the definition. As you know, the meta combination of the prefix of meta, which means the beyond of the universe. So it is the shared virtual environment to access the internet. Somebody now thinks that the cryptocurrency is the metaverse. No, it is just an aspect of the metaverse. So it is not a whole technology, but the other technologies such as the virtual reality or the augmented reality are combined in the metaverse to create a virtual presence. There are four main dimensions of the metaverse, and those are some technical parts of the metaverse, which are the virtual and augmented realities, but other parts, for example, the immersions, embodiments, and some user interaction between between virtual worlds are the main basis of the dimensions. When we describe the features of the metaverse, we can mention that the first one is the decentralization. This is the core tenet of the Web3. As we know, in Web2, the computers use HTTP in the form of some web addresses. But in Web3, the information is changed, and they are storing the different storage areas. So the data is not focusing on the central ways. They are decentralized way of that structure. And the second one is the trustless and the permissionless. In addition to decentralization, Web3 will also the trustless environment. So anyone can participate without any authorization from a governing body. So and there is a permissionless part of the metaverse is very important for the organization, because we don't need any permissions to enter any environment. And also, as Mohammed Bey mentioned, the artificial intelligence and machine learning is the many important issues and the basis on the metaverse. And the last one is the connectivity and ubiquity is important for the Web3 concepts. And I will describe those the four metaverse concepts. When we look for the transformation of the metaverse sides, there are four pillars: the people, data, process, and things. And metaverse wants to transform those four areas to a virtual world, and different thinking and different processing applications that we can use in our current world. So when JP Morgan prepared a very good brief booklet in the first month of this year, and this booklet mentions that metaverse is a seamless convergence from physical to digital lives. So it's a convergence, and it's creating a unified and virtual community for 5 different areas. We can create a new working area. We can create a new playing and gaming and leisure environment. And also relaxation is very important for the metaverse tools. And also we will transact all our payments and our financial activities, and we may socialize. Actually, there are some comparison between the technical sites for Web2 and current technologies and the Web3, but I don't give the details, but let me focusing that the Web2, we are looking for the credit and debit card, but in the metaverse, it's transforming with the crypto wallets, and the content revenues are generated from the peer-to-peer, not the central app store or central platforms. And those are some a bit technical details. For example, the metaverse based on the Wi-Fi and cloud technology. So in order to enhancement about those infrastructures, we can use virtual realities is a very, very effective and very, very realistic. And using the human interfaces, mobile phones, smart glasses are important, very, very good, very crucial role. And also the experiences and discovering new areas, new social networks are important also in the metaverse. Let me join with how social areas can be affected with the metaverses. When we develop more immersive virtual experiences, we can help the new communities building the new communities with the people. So and metaverse can be a mediator between the technology of different society groups or different business groups. So it is a platform, become a platform to interact and form meaningful relationships between those groups. What type of relationships can be done could be metaverse provides the psychological stability or the emotional connection. For example, some of the disabled persons can be appear as a different avatar in this metaverse, and he can connect with the others. So metaverse also can help to solve the discrimination or social inequities, because when you enter those words, you didn't show your skin color, your gender, your appearance, or you can use a different avatar, because when your avatar is changed, then maybe your intimacy is increased, or you can become more immersed in the metaverse. How about the mental health with metaverse? There are some research papers mentions that the physical activities are become very, very lower level, but impersonal social activities are increasing. So it affects some obesity, but it really affects the wellness of the peoples would be. Maybe the better looking or either idolized avatars are just forgetting the daily lives. So some people lives in a bad condition, but in the metaverse they're living is a very, very impressive avatars. As you know, all the innovation have good and bad things. So if we use good things for the metaverse, then the society would be improved. But there are some obesity or the decreasing the physical activities is a very bad effects on the metaverse. When I touch the physical perspectives, financial perspectives, as you know, the Jefferies recently said that metaverse would be the biggest disruption in the world, and for the financial firms, they have a huge potential opportunity. Last year, JP Morgan is the first bank to open in the metaverse store, banking store in the Onyxy. It's a special metaverse company. And every year, more than $54 billion spent for the virtual goods, not the real goods. Those are the virtual goods, just buying some clothes, buying some avatars, and it nearly doubles to buying the musics. And it also creates a very big number for the Second Life GDPs. As you know, they are creating more than $80 million to creators, just for one Second Life company, not the others, just for one. And the last year's one of the biggest impacts of the metaverse is the non-fungible tokens are currently a very good market cap, nearly 41 billion. When we have a look at the metanomics, actually it starts with the nearly 20 years ago, from the Second Life's release, and it also reached very good numbers. For example, Microsoft acquires the Minecraft more than $2.5 billion. And also when the Facebook changed company name to Meta, which is the big effect for the metaverse in the whole world, and it increases the tokens number. Let me show you. This is the effect of changing name from Facebook to Meta, and those are the Meta tokens, metaverse tokens, and those are the caps, the capacities of those tokens. So it really big numbers comparing with the previous ones. So but this is the only one of the possibilities, is the marketplace, expanding the marketplaces. So we can use those markets. Let me describe what would be the huge opportunities. For example, just only the game ad spending is reach nearly $18 billion in a few years. So I want to mention that what is the challenges of the metaverses. The first challenge would be the privacy, because metaverse will collect lots of personal data from every user. So the eye tracking and some physical reactions. So how we protect those data, and the protection for the children. So kids are very highly used the metaverse, cryptocurrencies, and they are buying the NFTs, and when they are using those tools, how we use if there is any violence or any abuse for the children. So we should think that the protection for the children. And health concerns, as I mentioned, the obesity will increase because the physical activities become less, and the virtual activities much more important. And the inequality. So when some areas requires some monies to use the virtual devices like VR glasses and other tools, so it may open an inequality, the headsets, and there are lots of legal issues that we must concern because when we buy a property, a digital property, and what is the rights of our properties, what is the legal procedures that we should do is not so clear. Decentralization is also important because we must avoid the violence, racism, or misogyny because the persons are not physical appearance, so they are easy to make some violence in the metaverse. And also the one of the most important things is the identity hacking. So if anybody make a hacking to our identity, it may stole all my digital goods or and other properties that I have, then what should I do? This is the main challenges. And the last one is what would be our metaverse strategies? So please have a look. What is the business model pardon, which impact with the socialization in the virtual worlds? And if there is any business value that we can create if we place into the metaverse, what would be the business values then we may appear in a store at the metaverse? So we can create a new marketing channels by using the metaverse. Especially the younger generation is very important. If your business model based on the younger generation, then please consider metaverse is a crucial for your business feature. And if your competitors have a presence in the metaverse, then you may consider that you should have a presence on that world. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that metaverse would better effects in our worlds.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, for your presentation, for your speaking. It was very important, very, very detailed information for us. And before our last speaker, Mr. Manitran, I want to ask one question, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan. In your presentation and also with your knowledge that decentralization is becoming very important. And do you think that metaverse and meta world is a step for the decentralization process of the global or of the world, or one step before for decentralization? What do you think about that issue? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, this is the main disruption thing for the current centralized world, like the banking, central banking, some governance bodies, and they are putting all the data in their own servers, own centers. But using the DeFi, decentralized finance, and the Web3 technologies, the data separated and with the different servers, even the users, even my computer, even your phones. So those changing the mind is affecting our business model. And I hope that decentralization creates a new interaction between the persons. The banks have take an action, and as you know, the the central bank digital currency actions are placing on this purpose. Banks have different taking actions to make what is the effects for decentralization, because they may lose their one of the biggest assets, which is the owning the data. And they may take some actions to integrate with the decentralized world.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, for your very important and detailed answer to my question. So, our last speaker, but not least speaker, is a very young speaker, Mr. Melih Turan, from Magellan, Chief Prosecutor Officer. Let me to introduce Mr. Melih Turan for you. And Mr. Melih Turan earned his bachelor degree from Beacon University, Department of the Accounting Information System. He also studied at the Bordeaux School of Business and Management. He is currently a PhD candidate in Political Economy of the Middle East at the Institute of the Middle East and Islamic Countries, Marmara University. He has senior private sector roles in financial technology and banking in Turkey and abroad. He's currently the FinTech advisor at the Finance Office of the Presidency of the Turkey, and Chief Product Officer at Magellan. And thank you very much, Mr. Melih Turan, for your having with us. So we'll talk about with Mr. Melih Kaplan about the fintechs and using of the fintechs in the Islamic solutions or Islamic financial system. And also, I believe that from the financial perspective, we will take lots of important information from Mr. Melih Turan. Thank you, Mr. Melih Turan. Please, the ground is yours.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Thank you very much for your invitation, Mr. İlham Öztürk and Mr. Mikail Alkan. I'm very thankful to be here, and of course, it's a pleasure to be here with former top executives who have served government many years in terms of financial services and financial technologies, like Mr. Muhammed Cerit, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, and Mr. İlham Öztürk. As a young speaker, it's a very pleasure for me to be here. Today, I will gonna talk about a bit about fintechs and Islamic fintechs and the Turkish fintech ecosystem. As we are here a member of Islamic Development Banks Association, ADFIMI, so I will talk about on some Islamic fintechs and the Turkish fintech ecosystem. First of all, what is fintech actually? Yeah, Mr. Muhammed Cerit and Mr. Ahmet Kaplan has explained, but I will here give just a dictionary definition of fintech that we have included it to the Turkish dictionary. What we call fintech, it's a company or product that provides financial services via digital technologies using innovative, complementary, and accelerating business models. What we look here that the financial services are at the center of fintech. So if there's a financial service, and this financial service must be in a business model like innovative, complementary, and exciting for financial services, we are calling this fintech. It's very hard to categorize and to define fintech. Actually, sometimes banking technologies are calling fintechs, neobanks are calling fintechs, but sometimes they are not fintechs. But as we look from the financial services perspective, and if we put the financial services at the center and look if the service, if the product, if the company is innovative and complementary and accelerating the financial services via digital technologies, we call it fintech actually. And if we look from a broader perspective, that there's a picture here in the slide, and you can see that if we unbundle a bank, we can see many fintech verticals like Self-Lender, like Victory, like Sophia, like Chime, If you look to a banking website, you are seeing many services, and there are credit services, insurance services, and many others. And if you look, if we unbundle the services, there exist many fintechs. So we can say that fintechs are complementing, innovating, and extracting this financial services that banks are providing. So if you look to the categories, there are lots of categories and subcategories of fintech, but if we combine them in 10, you can call lending, remittance, blockchain, mortgage and real estate, regulation technologies, wealth management, personal finance, and challenger banks, insurance, and payments. You can see these examples in screen. And if you look maybe again from the broader perspective, you can see that fintechs are not so small always. And there are lots of fintechs that are bigger than some countries' biggest banks, like Stripe, like Klarna, like Nubank, like Revolut. Actually, this last year's data, but it's very important that all the fintech unicorns that has the unicorn means that the $1 billion valued fintech or startup, 131 global fintech unicorns are worth 1 JP Morgan Chase. So we can see that these numbers are increasing. Many fintechs are worthier than some banks and some big banks as well in the world. So sometimes we are looking fintechs just startups, but fintechs are going also like incumbents. Some fintechs are also incumbents. We can maybe call it incumbents. And if you look how the fintechs are growing, fintechs, different from banks, they collaborate with other fintechs actually. And this approach makes them unique. For example, the first beachhead of Revolut was digital wallet. Then they jumped to crypto, then jumped to bank accounts, then brokerage. And all these have been made with collaboration with other fintechs. They have collaborated with a brokerage fintech. They have collaborated with a bank account provider, with a banking as a service provider. So if you look to the fintech area and the big fintechs, they are starting with just one business model, just one vertical, and then they are growing with collaborations, with partnerships, and etc. And if you talk about open banking, today's trend is open banking and maybe open finance we can call. And this is the unique business model that makes banks also fintech or a collaborative partner of fintechs. Again, before open banking, banks were just channels that can be used just from one channel. And after open banking, the banks are providing their services, their not maybe all financial, but main financial services via their APIs that we call them gateways, and so that the consumer can use the bank's financial services from another channel, from a fintech, from an PISP we call, ASP we call, that means the payment initiative service provider and account initiative service provider, and banking as a service. This business models helps, for example, companies to see all banking accounts in one place. Without open banking mentality, without open banking approach, you couldn't do it. If you have 10 bank accounts in 10 banks and you have to visit them daily and look if you have received the payment, or if you have to pay the bills and etc., you have to visit and log into each bank's online system, digital banking system, in order to execute your transactions. With open banking business models, you can initiate your payments via one app, and you can see all the accounts in one place. And the last but not least, the banking as a service model is a different approach that helps banks to provide different services in different verticals and to collaborate with fintechs. For example, a fintech can use the bank's infrastructure without getting a license from the regulators, without getting without having a huge capital. They can provide banking services with a bank's own license and its infrastructure. That means, for example, if you have a startup idea, just financing for students, and you have not so many capital, you have not so much money, and you can't get a banking license, but you can collaborate with a bank and provide consumer financing just for students with the bank's collaboration, the banking as a service model. And this will change actually the financial services capacity in all the world, I think. And the coming challenge is, after open banking, is the open finance. The Europe is focusing on it, South Asia is focusing on it, and America as well. After open banking, the other financial services will provide as well their infrastructure to other entities, not just for fintechs, also for banks, for other financial intermediaries, for other digital enablers, for example. As we see, maybe in Turkish e-government systems, you can collaborate with e-government system with many applications. I think a financial institution can also collaborate with all financial institutions together. For example, the insurance provider, the insurance company can implement the APIs of banks, and the credit institutions can implement the APIs of the banks, and etc. I think that the open finance, after open banking implementation and penetration, the open finance area will change the fintech area and banking system. And another important thing that also Mr. Ahmed Kaplan has mentioned is the decentralized finance. The decentralized finance is a bit different from the how to say it. It's called, maybe we can call the fintech area maybe traditional. We are saying that the banks are incumbent, but after 5 years, after 10 years, the fintech area will be incumbent. And this decentralized finance is now developing apart from the regulated fintechs and the real world fintechs. So it's maybe you can call it a parallel finance system in internet. And there are mainly no regulators, no laws, and no regulations, no legislation, and no governments, maybe. And this applications are providing many different things, not just for investment, not just for tokenization, but also credit platforms has been emerged in this decentralized finance. You can get credit if you put Ethereum. You can get credit from Avalanche. You can get you don't need actually a central exchange to exchange your cryptocurrencies, crypto assets. So this decentralized exchange has been emerged in this area, and this is a very different area that will shape actually after open banking, after open finance in the parallel. This will change the Web3 and the internet ecosystem. And if we look to the Islamic fintech side and how is going there, if you look from the Islamic economic and Islamic finance perspective, if we look to the developments of first Islamic financial infrastructures, we can see that with the developments of the technologies at the same moment, the information technology firms just focus on Islamic finance has been emerged with Islamic finance and banking industry and the internet industry. So we can say that we can extract this idea that the Islamic financial technologies has been developed with the internet and with the Islamic finance ecosystem together. At the moment, if you look at the broad Islamic finance ecosystem, we can see that approximately 300 Islamic fintechs are existing in the world, throughout the world, and most of them are in alternative finance, payments, and crowdfunding. And if we look deeper to these examples, we can see that there are some asset-backed blockchains and blockchain networks and social financing solutions in blockchain like Fintera, and we can see Wahid, Hello Gold, and Finispe in investment area. There are existing just Islamic finance investments, Islamic finance compliant investment platforms in Islamic fintech area, and in the payments as well. There are crypto payment like ManaPay, JumaPay, and Pay Halal. And these are some social finance, and some of them are blockchain-based payment ecosystems. And if you look from the banking side, the banking neobanks in Islamic perspective has been developed as well, like N26 and like Revolut. You can see that in Europe. I also was in an initial team, and we have created banking as a service model in Germany with this banking as a service model in Islamic financial service platform like Insha. And in England, in UK, and in France, you can see that there are a lot of neobanks. And at the moment, there's also a neobank in Asia and in the Middle East, and the Gulf region has also many digital bank enablers. If we look at the Islamic fintech market size, we can see that Saudi Arabia and Iran are the best in terms of market size. You can see that Turkey is the fifth of its market size, and we can say that it's emerging at the moment, actually. If we think about the opportunities for Islamic fintechs in terms of traditional business model, my opinion is that this DeFi, decentralized finance, is a big opportunity in terms of sanctions, in terms of remittances, in terms of credits, and financial intermediaries in internet, without borders, without any sanctions, without any maybe regulations, and with smart contracts that's built on in DeFi, that you cannot change the rules. And this can help the Sharia compliance, Islamic financial compliance to be held strict, actually, and then no way no way to misunderstanding, no way to misuse in Islamic financial legislation. Actually, in DeFi, you can develop this, and you can create some smart contracts that cannot be changed, actually. And in terms of exchange, in terms of credit mechanisms, DeFi will provide many opportunities for Islamic finance and fintechs and Islamic fintechs. The open finance will also help to boost this Islamic fintech area. For example, if you look the three applications in Turkey in digital banks, there were three Islamic, namely the participation digital banking license approval in Turkey after the digital banking license has been launched. And the first was the Islamic, was a neo-Islamic bank, and the coming were also Islamic banks. We can see that if you provide any digital, if you enable a digital area for fintechs and for digital banking, Islamic finance industry will come as an early adopter, actually. And this open finance will help with open banking as a service, and open finance will help to boost many Islamic fintech solutions. For example, you can provide solutions with a digital bank, with a digital Islamic bank, without creating another bank. You can just provide a fintech solution for example, for credits, just for credits with Islamic financial compliance, with a bank's license, with this open finance and open banking business models. And the super apps has different opportunities. That means you can collaborate with fast order systems, with this meal order systems, halal food, and halal fashion, modest fashion, and financial services together in one app. And this kind of super apps will came, we hope. And there are lots of opportunities for Muslim areas, for Muslim populations. And tokenization, apart from the DeFi, is also very important in order to access capital, in order to create some new scope models, create some new investment opportunities, I think. So I think I have time, and I will mention about the Turkish fintech ecosystem in order to maybe we can collaborate with this participants here. Maybe you have heard that we are building an Istanbul Finance Center here in Istanbul, and this Istanbul Finance Center has two pillars, and one of them is fintech, and the second one is participation finance, namely Islamic finance. If you look the first fintech related activities, you can see that Turkey has been in the financial technology area before than millennial, before than 20s. If you look the interbank card center and the first post terminal, they have been created and established in the 90s. And the credit bureau that helps at the moment the credit scoring has been built in the 90s as well. And the first contactless payment was in Europe, was in Turkey in 2006. And we were the third country in Europe to use chip and pin, and etc. If you look from this perspective and from the Turkish banking and financial system, or banks or institutions or regulators are very adaptive to financial technologies. And to mention that, first of all, this fintech term has been used since 2001 with fintech incorporation, and this was a government-based, state-owned banks subsidiary. And it's very important that the government is very adaptive to financial technology. The banks are very adaptive to financial technologies. If you look to the fintech ecosystem, you can see that the fintechs at the center and the regulatories, incumbent financial institutions, and the other stakeholders are working with fintechs. And if you look to the regulation governance, you can see that the top regulators here are the ministries, central bank, banking regulation supervision agency, capital markets board, and the other institutions that are helping to create this regulative fintech ecosystem, financial ecosystem. If you look to the licensing, you can see that the central bank holds the payment systems, the banking regulatory health, the digital banking as a service, financing. The central bank holds the crowdfunding, stock trading, and wealth management, and the insurance, of course, the insurance and private pension regulation and supervision agency gives the insurtech licenses. If you look to the associations, we have an Payment and Electronic Money Institutions Association of Turkey. It's called TÖDEP. This association of all payment and electronic money institutions that are getting license from central bank. And there are also semi-formal fintech council in the Union of Chamber and Commodity Exchange of Turkey, which is called TOP. And there are also fintechs that are not regulated as well. And there are the other associations, formal associations, are boosting as well the financial and fintech ecosystem. If you look to the numbers, we can see that in Turkey there are a lot of fintech companies comparing to the Europe. It's very competitive actually. More than 500, approximately 600 fintechs are at the moment alive and serving for the financial services. And we can see that the payments, as in the world, it's the same. The payment area, the payment vertical is very high, and then banking technologies, cryptocurrency, and blockchain are coming. And if you look to the deal size and deal counts, it's increasing at the moment. The fintech investments are increasing. At the moment, we are, the year is not finished, and 60 $3 million has been invested to fintechs, and it will increase till the end of the month. This data, if you wonder this data, we are as finance office, we are updating this data monthly, and you can access from startups.watch this data and to look the evolution of Turkish fintech ecosystem. And if you look from the bank's perspective, as I said before, the banks are very adaptive to financial technologies. We can see that apart from fintechs, the banks in Turkey has the banks have their own tech companies. These are banking technologies. Maybe we cannot call them sole fintechs, but they are banking technology providers, and they are creating as well fintech products. We can see that 8 banks have their own technology initiative, and this has been started before 2000, and the first one has started 1980. So we can see that these banks are providing banking technology service for themselves with these firms and for other banking players. And if we look banks fintech initiatives, we can see that banks in Turkey, and as well as traditional, conventional, and Islamic banks, participation banks, they are in the fintech area. They are in the competition with fintechs by merchant acquisitions. They are acquiring fintechs. They are investing fintechs. They are establishing e-money and payment institutions as well. We can say that they have venture builders, digital banking brains, investment opportunities, and etc. And state-owned banks have also they are also trying to be in fintech ecosystem. If we look to the timeline of the fintech regulation, we can see that 10 years ago it has started that the parallel of the Europe, the European Union, the regulations with the Payment Services Directive 1 and 2 and 3 is coming, as well as in Turkey has been developed. We can see that. And in last years, we can see that in Turkey is boosting all the regulations in terms of fintech. And if you look to the category outlook in terms of regulations, all the sections have been regulated except the crypto asset platforms. It's not forbidden, but it's not regulated actually at the moment. But other fintech sectors, fintech categories that has to be regulated has been regulated actually at the moment. And this year, Mr. Mohammed Jarit was one of the top regulators, and as his contributions, this outlook has been emerged actually. And if you look to the Islamic fintech ecosystem, we can say that in Turkey, Islamic fintechs are not so good like UK, like England, like Malaysia, and like Gulf region. We can see that the Islamic banks are dominating this ecosystem. Only the top, at the bottom, the 4 companies or initiatives or startups are just existing in terms of Islamic fintech. And other digital products and services have been provided by participation banks. And if you look to the companies, hubs, and VCs, we can see that the same picture. The banks are dominating this area, and the Al Baraka Turk and Kuwait Turk are dominating this Islamic fintech ecosystem. And lastly, last year we have launched the State of Fintech Ecosystem Turkey report. If you want, you can download and look the Turkish fintech ecosystem deeply. And I can say that this year we will also publish and launch this national fintech strategy and a fintech access guide, a Turkish fintech access guide. In a couple of months, I just recommend them to follow the news, and you can see how you can build and regulate the fintech in Turkey. And you can see the Turkish fintech vision after the launch of the Turkish national fintech strategy. Thank you so much for listening and for participating.
Thank you very much, Mr. Melih Turan, for your very important presentation and contribution for this seminar. And due to time constraint, very short question for you, that you mentioned that the relation of the or the using of the fintech in the financial system, especially in the Islamic banking system. Do you think that using of the fintechs or fintech technology in the financial system, contrast to the conventional banking system, is it a little bit harder according to the conventional system in the using of the Islamic banking system? What do you think about that issue?
Yeah, do you mean that between conventional banking and Islamic finance? You mean?
No. My question is using of the fintech systems in the Islamic banking system is a little bit harder than a conventional banking system. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it differentiates according to country. For example, in Turkey, the Islamic financial infrastructure is very penetrated. For example, there is a software that you can build a digital bank very easily. This software has been developed by Quayturk, and the Quayturk is providing this software for other stakeholders, other startups, fintechs, or other banks. And we can say that if you look to the digital banking license approvals and applications, we can see that the Islamic participation in digital banks were faster than the conventional one because of the software. The software has enabled the digital participation banks to create their own solutions easily and faster than conventional systems. In terms of digital banking infrastructure, you can say that, but in terms of banking as a service or fintech, other fintech, Islamic fintech solutions, we are not in Turkey. We are not so good if you compare to the Europe, because at the moment with this banking as a service regulation, there are not so many Islamic financial solutions which are collaborating with participation banks. This question is a bit it depends actually according to situation, I think, but sometimes Islamic financial technologies are better than conventional one, and better collaborative areas are existing, but sometimes not. And in some areas we cannot differentiate the conventional and Islamic one. For example, in e-money institutions, the e-money institutions are interest-free born institutions, so that there are not any interest, there are not any issue for Sharia compliance, so you cannot say that this is Islamic compliant and this is not. If you look from this perspective, or from payment gateways, payment institutions, there are also not differentiation with Islamic and conventional. So you can provide both. You can provide just one service, and it's Sharia compliant born, Sharia compliant in its nature. So with Islamic banks, we can say that with this Islamic financial infrastructure that Quayturk provides, it's easy to implement and create a digital bank. But if you look from the fintech collaboration area, and not all Islamic banks, not all participation are collaborating with fintechs as the conventional ones.
Thank you, Mr. Melih Turan, for your very wise explanation about that issue. And also, we came to the end of the webinar. And again, I want to thank all participants, especially for our speaker, Mr. Ahmet Kaplan, Mr. Muhammed Mustafa Cerit, and Mr. Melih Turan. Again, once again, to thank you very much for your participation and for your presentation and for your very important value. Hope to see you in the next or another seminar or webinar in the next future. And take care of yourself. Allah'a emanet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.